Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Relations with Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha is Stithi Prakarana. And it is section 23, giving insight into the sovereignty of a sage. Which is the goal of everyone. It's not something just to listen, but to realize. You are not going to be given any information. There was once a big emperor, and he was so powerful. The whole world was under his command. And with his raising the finger, the stars danced. Once upon a time. What has it to do with it? The purpose of this scripture to awaken in every individual the spiritual insight of who am I? I am. That I am is all enfolding, all transcending Brahman, the Absolute. Keeping that in view, as spiritual aspirant advances and comes to the stage of Jivan Mukti, which I have explained to you, as you following the northern path, Agni, Vairagya develops. You go on developing detachment from the world and become more and more attached to the reality behind the world. Detach and attach, sometimes people get mixed up. Think of simple illustrations. You are dealing with a baby. Baby is lovable. The mother must love the baby. But if mother is developing spiritual insight, loving God in the baby, that's what happened with Madalasa. The very cradle song she created, Shuddhosi, Buddhosi, Niranjanosi. So she is loving the baby, holding the baby, kissing the baby, showering all the affection. To the outside people, how attached she is. But she is not attached to the physical baby. She is attached to God within the baby. Same baby now has become a means, a kind of medium of loving God. Same relationship. That's the ideal of developing profounder relationship. First attention, profound relationship with people who are near and dear to you. Figure it out who is very dear. Then go into dear stage. What makes the person dear? God within the person. So you are inspired to develop divine love through your near and dear ones. But if you further advance, you find changing people who are gross, who are sick, making them healthy by your smiles, by your gentle heart, by your patience. Love that makes thorns blossom. So now that love has going on to a little more, not only you are loving God in near and dear ones, but loving God in far and away ones. In other words, your mind does not have place for any hatred towards anybody. Matri bhavana. All is yourself, the best friend. Negative people give you profound lessons. Listen to them. Thank them. Be tender-hearted. Bless them. Then they lose their negativity. So, with that, the sage is an emperor who rejoices in the palace of the body. The body-mind set is kind of a palace. Matri, or cosmic love, is his beloved queen. And Satyata and Ekata, they are his daughters. Unfortunately, he has no son. The joke. Satyata, truthfulness. Ekata, unity. So, with that type of setting, allegorically, it is very cozy and glorious royal palace. That's what you're living in. Same body set, which creates hell and constant source of sorrow, and goes on bringing all the garbage and markat karkat. Now the same body set is drawing from the world nothing but divine glory, permeating everywhere, and wafting from the heart to the world the divine aroma of divine love. That's called friendliness. The whole world is your friend. Vishwamitra. The whole Vishwa becomes friend. That's the potentiality of exists in every heart. And it is not only, since it is the potentiality, it is your reality. You don't have to work hard for attaining reality. Reality reveals itself. You work hard to sustain unreality. You work very hard to sustain that which is unreal, that which is illusory. And that's the role of moha. How you see every home has to suffer from countless miseries. Tears flow out make lakes and streams. Like the luminous sun that looks down upon the earth with detachment. A sage beholds the miseries of the world with a spirit of absolute detachment. His heart overflows with bliss. When it's the miseries of the world with absolute detachment, it has subtle meaning. The meaning is that he views the miseries as in accordance with the karmas of every soul. And ultimately all those miseries are to end. And that becomes the purpose of enlightenment. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. May all be equipped with sanamati, right understanding. His heart overflows with bliss. And in this, directing this type of goodwill to all others, he has no diffidence, because it is the reality. Darkness has no reality. Negative qualities, they have no reality. Ignorance and its forces, they are the most striking part of the world, of daily life, and yet they have no reality. This point has to enter, not into your body, into your mind. Well, if you think the mind is the body, then yes, it should enter your mind, body. Just as the sun, allegorical to understand, luminous sun looks down on the earth planet, what's happening? So many illuminations. One illumination is in contradiction with another one. So many reflected suns. Not a single one is full of rest. Everyone is restless. But does a sun begin to grieve? Because all this is not the reality. Every reflected sun is in misery. Reflections being in misery have nothing to do with the reality that has cast its reflection. Shift your angle from reflection to the reality. That's what your spiritual movement is. All the time, the I am in you is a reflected illusion. That I am is so shifting, you never know which one is I am. The body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, which is. And you find yourself existing without the body, without the mind, when you are in deep sleep. You are not aware of the body, you are not aware of mind, senses, not aware of your intellect, not aware of the ego and its projects. And you are. Good news. Bring that understanding, bag it about your head. instead of keeping your mind burdened with worries and anxieties. That art has to develop. And that's the purpose of satsanga, jnana yajna. And you are led to that through a progressive movement. You cannot suddenly become awakened because you have taken a lot of abhyasa, effort, to be what you are. Undoing will take time, but it will be very surprising. It will not take time exact with mathematical precision. The negative that you built up through so many years and many lives, in cutting the negative down, it will take you some time, but not exactly all the time you built it up. What the time that now will take will have a magical effect. You may begin to think it will take me a long time. But if you continue and your mind begins to understand the illusoriness of time, you'll be shocked. It is instantaneous realization. His heart overflows with bliss. For just as virulent poison does not affect the throat of Lord Shiva, so the flaws of the world do not affect the sage. It's another Puranic illustration. Lord Shiva, when the ocean was churned, first thing came was terrible poison, and Shiva sucked it in. Instead of poison, instead of hurting him, made his throat very beautiful, blue. It's allegorical and profound mystical meaning behind it. But the basic point is that all the poison that is in the world goes into the throat of God and it becomes nothing. Becomes nectar. And if you become united with God, if you begin to commune with the heart of God, or bring God in your heart, that God for whom poison doesn't exist. So if you are joining with God, how can the poison affect you? All the poison will be turned into nothing. All the tapas, 3 tapas, miseries, will vanish. Shanti will prevail. When a person interacts with a thief, with the recognition of his deceptive nature, he is not frustrated by him. First, I have given you the idea how this Godward movement turns or gives a special mystic spiritual value in all relations. In all your near and dear ones, you begin to experience the sweetness of divine touch. So you are, in loving your relatives, you are actually loving God in them. That type of culture has to develop, that will highlight. But as I have said, this attitude is not limited only to loving relations. Even towards those who are negative, people who are not normal people, who are dusht, deprived of good culture, rajasic, tamasic, demoniac. Being saintly, having friendly attitude to all, how do you deal with them? You stay cozy with them. Raj Yoga has given that already. Those who are extremely crude, you just stay out of them. Let them be like a wall, or you be a wall. But those who are communicable, now you communicate with them. They may think that you don't know them and their deceptive nature. But you outfox them. You know their deceptive nature. And therefore you are in a position to help them. Think of the doctor and patient. Doctor knows the diseases. And if the disease is contagious, doctor will try to keep his nose out of the way. But we'll do everything possible to help the person. So that type of attitude develops normally, automatically, as you become truly a human personality with purposes fulfilled. And just to remember, this whole movement to being so good is a progressive movement. Start becoming being good, announce today, 2 hours tomorrow. But have sustained movement. Never come to a state of being good doesn't do any good. Your movement should be unthwarted, firm, unflinching, with love of God and with more and more awareness of who is the source of all your energy and strength. And who are you? With that, the firmness becomes firm like Himalayas. A person viewing a broad landscape from the summit of a hill can see trees being cut and bushes being consumed by fire, but he is unaffected by these changes. These are all different ways of giving you allegorical language, implying a sage is completely aloof. He is on a vertical level. So many things the sage sees through his eyes, but all those things have no bearing upon him. This type of simile, furthermore, I have given to you. One who is enlightened is just like on a mountain top. Those who are not enlightened, they are as if going through the road that is at the foot of the mountain. The road that goes at the foot of the mountain. The relationship between the foot and the top. Now, if there is a person at the foot of the mountain, for him, all the vehicles that pass by, there is a past, present, and future. One who is on the top, all the vehicles that are passing by, they are always in the present. From the top, you are seeing all that. Of the bottom, past, present, and future. So therefore, the reality that is being faced by one who is at the bottom, worrying, past, someone is to come, where is the person? Grieving a lot, but then suddenly the person arrives, car comes. And she expected so much of love from the relative, she doesn't realize you, recognize you. So say, hello, okay. Car goes on. And her mind has impact for the past, impact for the future, and he's crushed. Up on the top, they are always in view. So many ways people try to give you the illustration to understand the point, how purified mind puts you in a vertical level. Distracted mind and impure mind keeps you in the bottom level. Worst still, no car is coming. But you develop the illusion, the car is come, it has gone. When the veil of ignorance, with the veil of ignorance removed, a sage possesses a luminous mind, free from all doubts. He no longer has any interest to experience the pleasures of the objects. Just as a sane person is not tempted by the mad outbursts of those who are drunk, to a sage, so a sage is not tempted by the pleasures that delight the ignorant. Simple illustration. You see by a drunken house and so many people drinking and laughing, and some of them coming into the drainage and just sitting down. And one who is sane is untouched by it. On that basis, parable has evolved also. That someone goes into the drunken party and all the people, seeing his personality very effulgent, welcomes him, brings the best of wines, and he allows them to drink, and they are very happy, but he has not taken any. They look at him, what? You have not taken the drink. Oh, he takes the drink up, puts out his mustache. Come and smell, I have a drink. But why don't you drinking in? Because I'm already drunk. So that's the relationship of spiritual happiness, mixing with people who are happy with pleasures of the senses. You shouldn't accept them too much. Stay with them and just let your mustache be touched by it. People feel that you are also like them. So Now you are in a position to help them to get out of their drunkenness. O Rama, just as an elephant is disciplined and guided to the right path with the help of a sharp spear, so the mind must be brought under one's control with the help of enquiry and reflection. Mind is like an elephant. And Vivek Buddhi, discriminative understanding, is the spear. So do not let your mind just run wild. Use your discriminative spear on the neck of that elephant. Control it. And how do you develop the discriminative understanding? What is called Vivek? By enquiry and reflection. See, first to allow your sadhana, to promote shama, serenity, to enter your mind. As serenity begins to enter, you can practice more and more vichar, enquiry, and more reflection to understand the meaning of the scriptures. And that becomes Vivek Buddhi, controls your mind. Instead of mind running wild, just shows the ankush, and the elephant obeys it. If you come to that stage, they become Gajagami. Your movement becomes like elephant's movement. Your strength becomes elephant strength. Bhima's strength was 10,000 elephants' strength. And your feeling becomes Gajgamini. Gajgamini is complementary literature describing grace and beauty of women. How do they move? They move like the graceful elephants. Literally, but in reality, it refers to the movement that moves away from the cycle of birth and death. Ga is gati. Ja jakaro janma vicheda. Ja cuts down the cycle of birth and death. When you have that movement, and the strength behind that movement is that elephant power. So Bhima is described 10,000 elephants' strength. So that elephant in you has to be brought under control so that it can generate elephant strength. In other words, it's always, day by day, in every situation, every situation presents a choice. Should you do this or should you do that? Early in the morning, lying on the bed, someone puts two fingers near you. Are you to stay lying or do you want to get up? And you have to have, and you use your choice. If you have positive, then you will not choose to stay with inertia. You will begin to overcome your weaknesses, your degrading habits, and go on developing strength. But that choice is to be exercised all through your life, day by day. You are always exercising your choice, but the choice can be exercised in a much more defined way. As you do sadhana and sattva develops, your choice becomes automatically a kind of a mystic choice. Sahaj, automatically you are drawn to what is right and avoid what is wrong or degrading. Sahaj, spontaneous. When the mind is disciplined by austerity and meditation, it is easily satiated even with the simplest pleasures of the world. This point is made. People live to have more and more pleasure. And the Trishna Najirna, craving does not decay. The more you enjoy, the more desire develops. Thirstier you become. But having moved towards the path of enlightenment, table changes, table turns. Least of the pleasure, more is the fulfillment. And the real joy that is being experienced by a sage is inner joy. So when a slight sip of that joy quenches your thirst to such an extent that if you have a million degree of craving, it suddenly becomes just 100-degree craving. I'm giving you mathematical. And 100 becomes 10. So your craving is being lost, losing it. What a loser. And satisfaction is blossoming. That's called tripti, inner contentment. And with that type of mindset, even the smallest little thing in the world appears to delight the sage beyond limits. But if you are not in that stage, then your delight depends upon quantity. More quantity given to you, then you feel happy. But if you have highly advanced, quality matters. It's not the quantity. Figure that out. See how a paddy field, the paddy in the field having survived and the scorching heat in summer delights. See how the paddy in the field, having survived the scorching heat in summer, delights with a brief shower. In other words, a sage does not run after the objects of the world. With a mind afflicted with insatiable craving, a sage does not run after the object with that insatiable craving, but rather with a mind that is ever contented and illumined. A king who has just been released from prison delights in even the smallest morsel of food. So many illustrations are being given, they are not to be taken too seriously. What is implied that you have been in the state of bondage, you are in the prison. Now you become liberated, you are out of prison. Now in the prison you craved for food and you didn't get the food you wanted. Out of prison, you are so happy. Food is not your matter. So even the smallest little food that comes to you is very joyous. It's just giving you a simple idea of spiritual happiness versus material happiness. If you have spiritual happiness, then even little things of this world will be sufficient for you. This is what is called blessed are the poor. You are happy with the smallest little possessions. But if you don't have that, then your happiness depends upon how many things you possess and you enjoy. Put in a very simple way. If you are really satisfied within yourself and with inner ornament of spiritual virtue, even a little rudraksha will decorate your neck wonderfully. But if you don't have, then we'll look for someone who can give you the pearls. But then look at somebody having better than your pearls. You find yourself not so satisfied. In other words, the heart of a sage is absolutely contented with God within. But as long as the body exists, fulfillment that comes from the world is a kind of a fun. Just like a child would collect some berries and bring to the mother. Her mother says, I never had like that. So that type of relation develops with the world. Another point, no matter how things are, your inner level is fully contented. Because all things change in the world, in the realm of mind. So many illuminations are changing on the earth. Sun is fully contented. But while we are doing that, we have to understand the movement is progressive. The more you become sattvic, you begin to capture that type of experience. If you are desirous of attaining the sovereignty of the spiritual kingdom, you must conquer the enemies of the senses. And in this valiant project, exercise your self-effort to your utmost. Enemies of the senses implies Shadripu, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, perverted desires, anger, greed, and so forth. When these dominate your mind, your senses do not operate sensibly they function senselessly. In this valiant project, exercise your self-effort to your utmost. How should you exercise your self-effort? Now here the allegorical writing. Pressing your hand with the hand. Clenching the teeth against the teeth. That I'm not going to do. Twisting and turning the limbs against the limbs. Try to fight with yourself. Do not leave any stone unturned. That's the big message. The idea the whole world is illusion doesn't mean that in your self-effort you should be deficient. Your self-effort should take care of all your responsibilities. Leave no stone unturned. With the intention, with that objective of allowing the self-effort to blend with grace of God. It becomes a dynamic movement. You must accomplish this victory over the mind and senses. Nothing should deter you from this glorious task. What's the use of conquering kingdoms when the enemies of the senses are not conquered within one's own heart? Implying all the sense of I'm so great because I've attained this. People develop so much pride of their attainment, their possessions, putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana, all types we have described before. But what's the use of developing that if you have not controlled your whims, your anger, your hate? You have not controlled your mind's debility. It just goes on bringing all types of junk. That should be your real pride, a pride that has moderated, that expresses through silence. The real sattvic pride gives you silence. When you know your greatness in the real way, you don't need to prove before people. And so, but this is the predicament of the masses. Everyone wants popularity, to be recognized, to be powerful. Nothing wrong in it, because that's this real urge of the soul. Soul is never satisfied until it attains its realization. But due to ignorance, mind becomes deluded. So you are developing so much pride and so much gaurav, a kind of glory about yourself on the basis of external possessions. But look within yourself, even a slightest worry, grief, imagination, they spoil all your attainments. A wrong information, a wrong understanding, a wrong type of imagination. And Inwardly, you remain in a very shallow level. Outwardly, you may go into the pages of history as a great person, a powerful politician, and so forth. But that has no real substance about it. How much you can, in brief, how much can you allow your higher self control the lower self? How much can you rise beyond body, mind, and come closer to God? How much can you discover I am that? That is the substance of all that is good, great, gracious. If that is not there, then it is a big world of palavras, all verbosities. Go into a forest, every animal is shouting, I am great, I am great. When the senses are conquered, a sage becomes eternal ruler of all that is. Now, worldly victory is followed by defeat. No matter what, how much you have attained, ultimately it gets away from you. But this is eternal. He who has vanquished the venomous serpent of mind that lies coiled up in the heart, he is truly an adorable sage. See the poetic language. The mind is like a venomous snake coiled up in the heart. How does it coil up? Led by your mind, your heart is sustaining impressions of revenge, impressions of hatred, and similar illusions. All those cozy within your heart. Snakes are very cozy. But the effect is you are going to go through life after life, a world of countless torments for no reason at all. If you have right understanding, process is simple. Though I'm saying simple, it simply means that even though for the masses, the process may seem very difficult. But as you become an aspirant, you are like a swan, you begin to fly. Your achievement becomes amazingly miraculous. So therefore, though history will describe many painful situations sages have faced, but to the sages, they have faced amazing excursions, adventure, from going from height to height. Whether people clap them or not doesn't matter. Their adversities, there have been their triumph. So with this I'm concluding. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om.